Hey, Brandon. Kind of fascinated by the Georgia safety defensive back that you took out of in the seventh round, Mark Webb, guy who transitioned from wide receiver early on in his college career. Just like, what's your overall assessment of him, where he fits in your defense?
Yeah, Daniel, really excited about Mark Webb. He started 2 years at Georgia. We've got really good relationships with Kirby Smart, Dan Lanning, Glenn Schumann, those guys that kind of run that defense there. And, he fits the style of DB that we're looking for, a guy that can play really anywhere in the secondary, but played a lot of different spots for them in a pro-style defense. You guys all know they had like 5 DBs drafted today. And so just have a lot of respect for the way they play and just feel like he can add to our group with the versatility that we like to play with, but also be a really big factor on special teams in the kicking game. He's got a pro body, long arms, strong, fast, and just feel like he can be a really major contributor in that phase too.
Is he that set and the body and the size and the athleticism, all that kind of stuff? And he's not as polished in terms of his coverage skills, but you trust your coaching staff, you trust your ability to sort of develop him into a more polished player.
Well, he started 2 years in the SEC with one of the top 5 defenses in the country. So we feel like this guy's has been a really productive player on a really good defense. Certainly has pro style coaching with those guys whom I mentioned, and I feel like this guy's going to really thrive in our environment with R. Hill, Derek Ansley, Tommy Donatel. Just feel like he's got a lot of the traits in a defensive back that we're looking for. And feel like he's a good fit for how we like to play.
And then just an overall question about the roster. Just like, how are you feeling about your defensive line depth? Obviously, you've got a trio of really quality starters: Justin Jones, Linval Joseph, Jerry Tillery. You've talked about Tillery's versatility, but how are you feeling about your depth up front?
There are guys that are behind them that probably are under the radar guys who not a lot of people know about, but we feel like that are guys that are developing players. Giff Smith, is one of the best coaches at that position in the NFL, and feel like there's some guys under the radar who can be a factor come training camp, and those guys are kind of developmental guys that we're going to count on to grow a lot between now and the season. And then there's a lot of other ways to onboard guys before the season too. So we'll be looking to do that in some shape or form, whether it's college free agency here or veteran free agency before August.
Just talking about Cortez Broughton, Braden Fajoko, Joe Gaziano, those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited about all 3 of those guys.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
Gilbert.
Hey, Brandon, hopefully I didn't miss Pop's question on Braden Jaimes. Do you see him more as a tackle or an inside guy, or a little bit of both?
We think a little bit of both. We feel like he's done both. Really like his body of work. Started, set a career record at Nebraska for most games started by an offensive lineman. Frank Smith, Sean Surratt, both had really good grades on this guy. As a guy that had that kind of inside out flex and felt like he would really contribute to the depth of our group, and a guy that's been a productive player in a really good league. And I think athletically, we liked him as that flex guy, but this guy's, really strong too. So felt like, we were getting a player that could develop, behind an already established group and could be a swing guy for us moving forward.
And Brandon, I think you've mentioned a couple of times you want to get better at the line of scrimmage. Do you feel like you've done that, this weekend?
Yeah, I think that certainly it started in free agency, and then you get Rashawn in the first round, and then we were looking for another young guy in the draft, and then obviously in undrafted free agency we'll try to do that too. But we were looking for a developmental guy in the draft, and to get someone like this who's been that productive at a school like Nebraska, we just felt like that was a really good opportunity to address that, and we had really good grades on him.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Yo.
Brandon, in the past 2 months of revamping your offensive line, how do you feel about this group that you have now compared to back then, even though you haven't seen them on the field yet?
Yeah, it's a lot different group. I'm aware of the guys who have played in the NFL. These guys that we joined up with in free agency, Corey, O'Day, Matt Filer. I'm really familiar with those guys because I was able to either play against these guys or see them in NFL games. So just feel really confident on who those players are, and then Brian Balaga, who's kind of his body of work speaks for itself. And then I think what we wanted to do was be able to develop the guys that are already on our roster, guys that are younger players that are still emerging. You and I have, you guys have heard me talk about developing those guys. And hey, when they're in, a rookie contract or something like that, sometimes it takes 2-3 years, maybe the fourth year, to get them, where they're able to really express themselves as a player. So we're looking to do that. And then, certainly we've done a nice job here in the draft. So we feel like that room has got a good mix of experience and youth. And we've got, flexibility with guys that can play outside, guys who can play inside. And, we're certainly a much different group than we were a few months ago.
There's still any areas of concern where you feel like you guys are light that you might need to work on over the next couple months?
There's always work to do, Joe, but I would say that, we're excited about where we are. I think in the draft, I felt like we had 9 picks. We were going to take advantage of those 9 picks. That was our plan to execute. We wanted to stick with our picks and be able to, take some swings, and I feel like we did that. And I like where our roster is, and there's a lot of time between now and when we play. And so, you guys know how that goes. So we're going to always be looking for players who can contribute and make us the best team we can be. And like I said, there's a lot of time between now and our first game.
And then just you being a Northeast Ohio guy, what was it like seeing Cleveland in the spotlight for 3 days?
Yeah, great American city, definitely worthy of the draft, and the passion that city has for football as good as anywhere in the world. So, definitely excited about that. One of my former players announced the second-round pick for the Browns. I was kind of disappointed in a way because I would have rather have him announced our pick, because Gibby's my guy, Marty Gibbons, who was a safety for me at John Carroll, who took his alma mater to the state championship this year. So he did a heck of a job announcing that pick. I knew he wouldn't be nervous, and he definitely killed it. So tip of my cap to Gibby. But, Cleveland was a great venue to host the draft, and I think there was a lot of energy, and they did a great job.
Heck of a family, because I covered his dad when he led Lake Catholic to his state title.
Yeah, that's a coaching family now. John Gibbons, his brother Mike, his brother Tom, his brother-in-law Tom Lombardo is one of the great coaches in the state of Ohio at St. Ed. So it's a coaching family all the way. And if you know the Gibbons family, they're really special.
Okay, thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Brandon, specifically Chris Rump, what did you like about him, and where does he fit in, do you think, looking forward?
Yeah, really athletic, instinctive, long. And, the way the game's played now, the quarterbacks who you have to defend, you got to be able to get these guys on the ground, the mobility and the athleticism, the creativity that these quarterbacks have nowadays. You got to have, players on the edge that can play on their feet, that can do a lot of different jobs. And that's kind of a style of how we play. And so we just felt like, the sack production for this guy, normally sack production in college will translate to sack production here. But then his versatility to play on the edge and play a variety of techniques, and and then certainly helping in the kicking game. In a system like ours, you're hoping that a backup edge player can play in the kicking game, and we feel like he can. That he's athletic enough to be one of those big skill bodies. And comes from a coaching family, comes from a program we really respect with David Cutcliffe, and just felt like we were, getting a player that still is developing, but has been extremely productive and kind of fits our style of play.
And Brandon, this was your first draft as a head coach. What was it different? I mean, were you doing different things? Did it feel different? And now, does it feel any different that you've gone through it as a head coach?
Yeah, I think we were prepared. I think that was the one thing that showed up. I think that, when you have 9 picks, there's a lot that happens between your first pick and your 9th pick, but there's a lot that's happening now in the undrafted free agency. But I think that we were prepared. I think the big thing, Jeff, was just having a strong sense of the draft board. I think that, certainly coming from the defensive coordinator where you got half the board that you're, responsible for to, now the whole board, including specialists. I feel like I had good command of the draft board, and I felt like, we were connected, as an organization and how we were going to attack this. And I felt like, we're really proud of the way we competed the last couple of days.
Tom admitted that he's pretty fried right now. You don't seem fried at all. Are you? Are you at all weary, or are you ready to go some more?
No, guys. Great competitors, man. We're ready to go. I got to get ready for meetings on Monday. So this just gives you something to be even more excited about, onboarding guys that you believe in, and now we got to get these guys ready to go. So it's on to the next thing. So if you love it, I'm telling you, I told these players, I said, get ready, guys. If you think we're going to wear out, I said, hey, you're going to be disappointed. We're going to be coming back like we always do, and that's a big hallmark of kind of how we want to operate here with consistency. So I hope that's okay with you.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Nando.
Hey, Brandon. I don't know if you mentioned this when Pop asked, but did Mark Webb, do you see him as a corner?
I see him as a DB, Fernando. I think this guy can really play anywhere. I think he played in the slot more at Georgia as kind of a star money type guy, but he met, in 4 DB groupings, he met as a safety and as a corner in his time at Georgia. So I think we'll kind of figure that out when he gets here. But I just think that, his body type, his athleticism, all that, we're just going to look at him as a defensive back, and we're going to figure it out when he gets here.
How do you feel about your safety/defensive back group right now?
Yeah, it's I think that you start out with Nas and DJ, and we feel like that tandem is an exciting tandem to start with in the NFL. Those two guys give you a lot of flexibility in how you want to play. Alohi Gilman is a guy that we drafted last year who we're excited about, and then you add a Mark Webb, and then an undrafted free agency here. We take that really seriously. We're in that recruiting process right now. Like I said, we think we have a professional DB training operation here that people are going to want to join up with, and then we've got a lot of corners that can do a lot of things too. So certainly looking forward to coaching these guys.
Brandon, I know, speaking of former players and stuff of yours, they say that you like to build a connection with your players. Is that the reason why? I mean, I've heard the calls that you've made, and you always tell them, don't forget to thank people, the people that got you to here. Is that a reason why that you want them to thank people? Just, I don't know if you understand the way I'm putting this, but like, why do you feel the sense that you need to do that, or ask or say that to them?
Yeah, I think sometimes in the moment your mind's going a lot of different places, and you want them to, number one, enjoy it to the fullest, because it only happens one time. But then there's also a reason why that moment happened, certainly starting with the player and all the hard work he put in, but then there's just so many people that help you accomplish living your dream. And I certainly feel like I'm an example of that, and I feel like we're all the best versions of ourselves because of a lot of other people, and so just trying to remind players to keep the main thing. And this is an amazing experience that these guys are going through right now, and want them to remember it the right way.
Thank you for rescuing my terrible question, Brandon. I appreciate it.
No, it's a great question, and I think it's an awesome point, because what we're trying to do with these guys is giving them impactful experience, as competitors, and I think that it's a big part of the job, and you'll hear me talk about, the best businesses are personal. They're personal. It's a tough business, but it's a personal business, and you better be good at it.
I appreciate it, Brandon. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Michael.
Hey, Coach, how important was it to find ways to minimize the risk with these picks, 9 selections? 5 of them were Senior Bowl players, so that means they kind of maxed out their experience, in college. 2 of them are coaches' sons, which obviously helps the floor of these players, being brought up within the game. How important was it to kind of find those things to really feel confident in the season where everything was pretty unconventional up to this point?
I think good question. I think you guys have all kind of touched on that in some shape or form. And I think it's just those are all good observations. I think what you're trying to do is get a full evaluation of the player. And I think that seeing them in a variety of settings just increases your odds of making a good decision. And so, it's probably a little bit coincidental, Michael, probably a little bit, that these guys are Senior Bowl guys. But, I mean, at the same time, that's where the best players in the country usually join up, too. So I just feel like The level of competition that these guys played at, all these draft picks, their level of production, and then in some of their postseason type stuff, whether it be a bowl game, all-star game, it just gives you that final observation, and then moving into the pro day season so that you can make a good decision. So just, really proud of our process, and making, really good picks with these guys.